Every motorcycle forum talks about horsepower and styling, but nobody mentions the financial massacre happening right now. What if I told you that certain motorcycles are losing value so fast, they'll be worth less than a used sedan by 2026? That's not speculation. Dealerships are drowning in inventory, wholesale auction prices have collapsed by double digits, and some bikes are already selling for 60% below their original price. Imagine spending $30,000 on a motorcycle only to discover it's worth 12 grand 2 years later.
500 or sub 500 cc cruiser market. It's kind of going to be the stepping stone to, I guess, the Vulcan S.
In this video, I'm exposing the 10 motorcycles that are headed straight toward financial oblivion. And trust me, the number one choice will shock you. It's from a brand riders have trusted for decades, yet it's hemorrhaging value faster than any competitor. Watch every second because this isn't just a list. It's the difference between making a smart investment or losing thousands of dollars overnight. Number 10, Kawasaki Vulcan S and Eliminator. Starting off our list are two Kawasaki models that seem reliable on paper, but are drowning in one of the worst performing segments in the entire market. The Vulcan S and the newer Eliminator fall into the metric cruiser category, and that segment just experienced a 6% collapse in wholesale auction prices. That might not sound dramatic until you realize this is happening in a single year during what's supposed to be the peak selling season. The problem isn't quality. Kawasaki builds dependable motorcycles that rarely leave you stranded on the side of the road. The issue is ubiquity. When every dealership has multiple units gathering dust and the used market is flooded with barely ridden examples, your bike becomes just another face in an overcrowded room. Buyers have endless options, which means they can negotiate aggressively and walk away if you don't meet their price. The Vulcan S competes directly with the Honda Rebel 500, which has become the default recommendation for new riders and experienced cyclists looking for an affordable cruiser. The Rebel's reputation for bulletproof reliability and strong resale value means it sucks up all the oxygen in this price range. The Eliminator, despite being newer and more stylish, entered the market at exactly the wrong time, right when cruiser demand started its freefall. Number 9, Triumph Bonneville Bobber. Triumph builds exceptional motorcycles. The Bonneville Bobber is beautiful, well-engineered, and genuinely fun to ride. So why is it bleeding value? Because the retro classic segment has become impossibly crowded, and Triumph's own success is working against them. Walk into any motorcycle dealership and count how many different retro-styled bikes you can find. Triumph alone offers multiple Bonneville variants: the T100, T120, Bobber, Speedmaster, and Street Twin. Then add Royal Enfield's affordable alternatives: Kawasaki's Z900RS and W800, Yamaha's XSR series, and Honda's CB lineup. The segment that was once dominated by a few iconic models is now so saturated that nothing feels special anymore. The Bonneville Bobber specifically suffers from being neither the most affordable option nor the most exclusive. Royal Enfield undercuts it significantly on price while offering similar styling cues that appeal to newer riders. At the same time, buyers seeking genuine exclusivity gravitate toward limited editions or brands with more cachet. The Bobber exists in this uncomfortable middle ground, where it's too expensive to be a value play, but too common to command premium pricing. Market oversaturation destroys residual values faster than almost any other factor. When buyers have 20 similar options within a $5,000 price range, your specific motorcycle loses its negotiating power. The broader cruiser market is already experiencing rapid wholesale price declines, dropping 13% in just 3 months during peak selling season. The Bonneville Bobber is caught in this downdraft, and there's no indication the trend will reverse before 2026. Number 8, Yamaha MT-10. This one surprises people because Yamaha has an ironclad reputation for reliability. The MT-10 uses a detuned R1 engine that's been proven over years of abuse on racetracks worldwide. So what's the problem? It's in the wrong segment at the wrong time, and the numbers don't lie. The high-performance street category, which includes naked bikes, sport bikes, and super sport machines, just experienced an 11% collapse in wholesale auction prices. That's the single largest decline of any motorcycle segment in the current market. When you're already starting from a depreciation disadvantage, any model-specific weaknesses get amplified dramatically. The MT-10 occupies a niche within a niche. It's a high-powered naked bike designed for experienced riders who want superbike performance without the aggressive riding position. That sounds appealing until you realize how small that buyer pool actually is. New riders can't handle the power. Practical riders find it too aggressive for daily use. Track enthusiasts prefer actual sport bikes. And budget-conscious buyers gravitate toward the MT-07, which offers 80% of the fun at 60% of the cost and holds its value significantly better. Economic uncertainty is crushing discretionary purchases, and the MT-10 is the definition of a discretionary motorcycle. It's not practical transportation. It's not a beginner bike. It's a second or third motorcycle for someone with disposable income who wants weekend thrills. Number 7. KTM 390 Duke and Adventure Series. KTM has carved out a reputation for building exciting, lightweight motorcycles that punch above their displacement. The 390 Duke and 390 Adventure offer genuine performance and capability at what seems like a reasonable price. But there's a reason these bikes show up on worst resale value lists repeatedly, and it comes down to a toxic combination of perceived unreliability and European maintenance costs on a budget bike platform. The 390 series uses a single-cylinder engine that's been described by owners and mechanics as having a time bomb like nature. That's not just internet speculation. These engines require premium maintenance at intervals and costs that would make sense on a European premium bike, except you're dealing with a machine that costs less than $10,000 new. The critical 600-mile break in service runs around $350. That's reasonable for a Ducati or BMW, but it's shocking for what's marketed as an entry-level motorcycle. The financial calculation gets worse when you factor in parts costs. KTM charges European premium prices for specialized components, and the dealer network, while growing, remains sparse compared to Japanese manufacturers. If you live in a major city, you might have convenient access to KTM-certified technicians. If you're in a smaller market, you could be looking at a 2-hour drive to the nearest dealer, which means you're either paying for towing or missing work to get your bike serviced. Here's where the depreciation really accelerates. The primary market for 390cc motorcycles consists of new riders and budget-conscious enthusiasts. These buyers are doing careful financial calculations before purchasing. When they research the 390 series and discover forums filled with discussions about expensive maintenance, engine longevity concerns, and premium parts pricing, they make the rational decision to buy a Honda CB500X or Kawasaki Z400 instead. Those Japanese alternatives might not be as exciting, but they're backed by extensive dealer networks, affordable parts, and reputations for running forever with basic maintenance. If you're thinking about adding your name to the list, hit that subscribe button right here. We're diving deep into the motorcycle market every week, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Number 6. BMW S1000RR pre-2015 models. BMW's superbike entry has earned respect for its technology, performance, and track capability. The S1000RR redefined what riders expected from a leader-class sport bike when it launched. But older models, particularly those from the early to mid-2010s, are facing a depreciation crisis that combines historical mechanical issues, high maintenance costs, and the wholesale collapse of the sport bike segment. The 2012 model year S1000RR suffered from a catastrophic defect, connecting rod bolt failures that required a mandatory recall. Even though BMW addressed the issue, that kind of high-profile mechanical failure creates permanent reputational damage. Riders researching used S1000RRs inevitably discover forum threads discussing engine grenades and expensive repairs. That fear never fully disappears, and it shows up directly in resale values. BMW maintenance costs are legendary and not in a good way. Routine service at a BMW Motorrad dealership costs significantly more than equivalent work on a Japanese sport bike. When you add complex electronics, specialized diagnostic equipment, and proprietary parts into the equation, the total cost of ownership skyrockets. A minor electrical gremlin that would be a $200 fix on a Yamaha R1 becomes an $800 dealer visit on the S1000RR. The sport bike segment itself is dying. The same wholesale auction data showing an 11% price collapse affects all high-performance machines, but older sport bikes with known issues and high maintenance requirements are getting destroyed. Younger buyers who might have lusted after a superbike a decade ago are now gravitating toward more practical middleweight bikes or adventure motorcycles. The remaining sport bike buyers are increasingly sophisticated and risk-averse, which means they're avoiding older BMWs entirely. Here's the compounding problem. The S1000RR exists in a segment with exceptional alternatives. A used Suzuki GSX-R1000, Kawasaki ZX-10R, or Yamaha R1 offers comparable performance with dramatically lower maintenance costs and fewer reliability concerns. Unless you specifically need BMW's electronic rider aids or have a personal attachment to the brand, there's no rational financial reason to choose the S1000RR in today's used market. Number 5. MV Agusta Brutale and Dragster series. MV Agusta builds some of the most beautiful motorcycles in the world. The Brutale and Dragster series are rolling art that turn heads everywhere they go. Owners describe them as the best bikes they've ever ridden when they run. That caveat tells you everything you need to know about why these machines are depreciation disasters. The fundamental problem with MV Agusta is the microscopic dealer network and the agonizing wait times for parts. When something breaks, and something will eventually break on any motorcycle, you're facing potentially months of downtime waiting for specialized components to arrive from Italy. For riders who depend on their motorcycles for regular use, that's completely unacceptable. Even for weekend riders, having your pride and joy sit in a garage for 3 months waiting for a $200 part destroys the entire ownership experience. The maintenance costs make European competitors look affordable by comparison. MV Agusta service requires specialized knowledge and tools that most independent mechanics don't possess, which forces owners back to the limited dealer network where labor rates reflect the premium nature of the brand. A routine service that might cost $300 on a Japanese bike can easily run $800 or more on an MV Agusta. Here's where the depreciation becomes catastrophic. The buyer pool for MV Agustas is already small. These are niche machines for enthusiasts willing to prioritize emotion over practicality. But the used buyer pool is microscopic because nobody wants to inherit these ownership headaches without a factory warranty. The moment that warranty expires, the bike's value falls off a cliff because any potential buyer is calculating the risk of expensive repairs and extended downtime. MV Agusta motorcycles represent the extreme end of the depreciation curve. The combination of parts scarcity, limited dealer support, and high maintenance costs creates a perfect storm that drives residual values down to 30 to 35% of the original MSRP. A Brutale 800 that costs $14,000 new might struggle to find a buyer at $4,500 3 years later. That's not just bad depreciation, it's financial annihilation. Number 4. BMW R18 and variants. BMW's attempt to compete in the heavyweight cruiser segment is a beautiful machine with impressive engineering. The massive boxer engine, shaft drive, and premium finish quality are undeniable. So why is the R18 bleeding value faster than almost anything in its class? Because it combines the worst financial characteristics of European premium motorcycles with weakening demand in the cruiser segment. The R18's maintenance intervals seem reasonable on paper. The shaft drive requires oil changes every 20,000 to 30,000 kilometers, and spark plugs can go 20,000 to 25,000 kilometers between changes. Those numbers suggest low maintenance, but they ignore the reality of what happens when service is actually needed. The labor costs for working on the massive boxer engine at a BMW dealership are staggering compared to Japanese or American cruisers. Cruiser buyers are typically looking for straightforward, low-cost ownership. They want to ride, not spend weekends wrenching or dropping $1,000 for routine service. The R18 fails this fundamental requirement. While a Harley-Davidson owner can visit any of thousands of independent shops across America for affordable service, R18 owners are locked into the BMW dealer network, where every visit comes with premium pricing. The demographic shift in the cruiser market compounds this problem. Baby boomers, who traditionally bought expensive cruisers without flinching, are aging out of riding. Younger riders gravitating toward cruisers are more price conscious and less brand loyal. They're not impressed by German engineering if it comes with German maintenance costs. They'd rather buy a Honda Rebel 1100 or Indian Scout and save thousands on both purchase price and long-term ownership costs. The wholesale auction data confirms what individual sellers are discovering. Large cruisers are in freefall. The domestic cruiser segment, which includes bikes like the R18, experienced a 13% price drop in just 3 months during peak selling season. When the entire segment is collapsing, an expensive, high-maintenance outlier gets crushed even harder. Number 3. Indian Scout Bobber 2021 to 2024 models. Indian builds quality motorcycles with strong brand heritage and appealing styling. The Scout Bobber should be a success story in the cruiser segment. Instead, it's repeatedly cited as one of the worst motorcycles for resale value, and the reasons go beyond general market weakness. The Scout Bobber competes in the metric cruiser segment, which just experienced a 6% wholesale price collapse. That immediately puts it at a disadvantage. But the specific issue that kills resale value is the mandatory recall affecting 2021 and 2022 models for fuel pump failure. The defect rate was estimated at only 1%, which sounds minimal until you understand how recalls affect buyer psychology. When a recall involves a critical safety component that can cause engine stall, it creates permanent stigma around those model years. Even riders who had the recall service completed successfully will face skeptical buyers who negotiate aggressively based on the perceived risk. Buyers researching used Scout Bobbers discover the recall, then immediately filter out affected years or demand significant discounts to compensate for the anxiety. The broader Indian ownership experience creates additional depreciation pressure. While the bikes themselves are reliable when properly maintained, the dealer network is smaller than Harley-Davidson or Japanese brands. Service availability matters enormously in the used market because buyers are calculating long-term cost and convenience. A Scout Bobber might be the better motorcycle on paper, but if the nearest Indian dealer is 75 miles away, while there's a Honda shop in town, the practical buyer chooses the Honda. Indian also lacks the robust independent mechanic ecosystem that supports Harley-Davidson. When you own a Harley, you can find qualified independent shops in virtually any city willing to perform service for reasonable rates. Indian owners are more dependent on dealership service, which means higher costs and less flexibility. That difference shows up directly in resale values because used buyers are doing these calculations. Number 2, Harley-Davidson Sportster S. Harley-Davidson's attempt to modernize and compete with younger buyers has created a motorcycle that's hemorrhaging value despite impressive performance and technology. The Sportster S is explicitly cited in industry analysis as a model set to lose massive value, and the reasons reveal how dramatically the market has shifted. The Revolution Max engine platform is at the heart of the problem. This is an entirely new engine design for Harley-Davidson, representing a dramatic departure from the traditional air-cooled V-twins that built the brand's reputation. New platforms always face a trust deficit, but the Revolution Max has been plagued by concerns about long-term reliability that haven't been adequately addressed. The Sportster S shares this engine with the Pan America, and owner forums for both bikes are filled with complaints about electronic issues, concerning noises, and uncertainty about durability. For a brand that built its entire identity on bulletproof simplicity and decades of proven engineering, introducing a complex, unproven platform creates massive cognitive dissonance. Traditional Harley buyers don't trust it because it's not a real Harley. Modern riders don't trust it because there's insufficient long-term data. The pricing strategy compounds the depreciation problem. Harley positioned the Sportster S as a premium entry at a price point that puts it squarely against established competitors with proven reliability. A buyer spending $15,000 can choose the Sportster S with its question marks, or they can buy a Japanese alternative with decades of proven durability. The rational choice is obvious, which means Sportster S values collapse once they hit the used market. Number 1. Harley-Davidson Pan America. The number 1 spot belongs to Harley-Davidson's adventure bike, a machine that should have been a triumph, but has instead become a cautionary tale about the dangers of rushing an unproven platform to market. The Pan America is projected to suffer more catastrophic value loss than any other motorcycle in its segment, and the reasons go beyond typical depreciation factors into fundamental questions about reliability and brand trust. The Pan America uses the same Revolution Max engine as the Sportster S, but the consequences of potential failure are more severe in an adventure bike context. Riders buy adventure motorcycles specifically for reliability and capability in remote locations. When owner forums are filled with reports of catastrophic engine failures at low mileage, including units grenading at just 18,000 miles, that destroys the entire value proposition. An unreliable adventure bike isn't just inconvenient, it's potentially dangerous. The used market for Pan Americas is consistently described as weak, and a look at listings confirms why. Dealers are struggling to move used units even with aggressive discounting. Private sellers are cutting prices month after month trying to find buyers. The problem isn't the riding experience when the bike works. Most owners praise the handling, power delivery, and feature set. The problem is the overwhelming fear that the engine could self-destruct without warning, leaving the owner with a $5,000 or larger repair bill that warranty may or may not cover. The competitive landscape makes this worse. The adventure segment is dominated by proven, bulletproof machines like the Yamaha MT-10 700 and BMW's GS series. These bikes have decades of proven reliability with hundreds of thousands of miles of real-world testing. The MT-10 700 specifically has become the default recommendation for riders seeking an affordable, reliable adventure platform. The Pan America can't compete against that reputation, especially when reliability concerns are amplified by limited long-term data. Harley-Davidson's dealer network, while extensive, isn't optimized for adventure riders. Traditional Harley dealers cater to cruiser customers who ride on pavement and prioritize style over capability. Adventure riders need dealers who understand off-road riding, carry appropriate gear and accessories, and have technicians experienced with the unique challenges of adventure bikes. The mismatch between the bike's intended purpose and the dealer culture creates friction that shows up in customer satisfaction and, ultimately, resale values. The motorcycle market is full of financial traps hiding behind beautiful styling and impressive spec sheets, but some bikes are actually holding their value. Check out my breakdown of 25 motorcycles everyone's buying right now to see which models are worth your money in today's market.